Hi, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the TradeStation Masterclass. My name is Jesus Nava. I am the Director of Client Training and Education for TradeStation Securities. It is a pleasure to be here with all of you. We're going to do our strategy elements series where we highlight certain functionality of TradeStation related to strategy automation. Today, specifically, we're going to talk about exiting a manually entered position using an automated strategy. Sometimes you are already in a position, you don't want to exit it discretionarily. So you want to maybe use some technical indicators or certain calculations or rules or conditions to exit your trade. And that's what we're going to concentrate and focus today. So let's go ahead and go through some of the disclosures before we get started. Just keep in mind that every symbol and idea that I talk about in this presentation is for educational purposes only. This is not a recommendation of TradeStation. Active trading is not suitable for everyone, and past historical performance is no guarantee of future results. We all need to be aware of the risks of future results. We all need to be aware of the risks. You have all the links available right there on this PowerPoint slide. Let's go through some of the elements of strategy automation, specifically in the area of automating the exit of a manually entered position. Some of the things that everyone needs to be aware of when automating strategies to exit an already existing position are, first of all, strategy automation will give us the ability to have a chart send trading orders into the market to enter or exit a position based on a set of rules or conditions. That's one of the things that, TradeStation is very good at, giving you the ability to automate strategies. In this case, we're going to go through an example on how you can set up your chart in order to send those types of orders into the market. The position match between the real world position and the strategy position must be true in order to be sent into the market. I think there's a typo here. In order to be sent into the market, that should be order as in singular form. So yes, we talk about matching your strategy position with your real world position. The only way that the strategy, an automated strategy to be specific, is going to be able to automate the exit of your already existing position is for the strategy to be able to see what you have in your real account and somehow match it so that it knows exactly what position you have, how many shares or contracts you own, and it knows exactly what type of order to generate. So there's got to be a connection between what the strategy is doing and what your live account, brokerage account is doing. The Trade Manager Strategy Orders and Strategy Positions tab will allow you to track the status of strategy automation. These are two tabs that we don't use regularly when we open up the Trade Manager. If you've been trading with TradeStation some time, you probably look at the Orders tab and the Positions tab, and maybe the Balances tab to see your account balances. Those are some of the tabs that you're going to use the most when you open up the Trade Manager. But there are two additional tabs which are named Strategy Orders and Strategy Positions that will keep track of your strategy and tell you what the status of the strategy is. This is very important when it comes to automating a strategy to exit an already existing position, because you need a way to monitor that order and make sure that it's going to behave the way you want. A good understanding of what these tabs are going to show you is important when you're automating a strategy to exit an existing position. Adopt an existing position is enabled in the strategy properties for all when clicking Studies, Edit Strategies. Okay, this is pretty much telling you what you need to do in order to create that match between what's happening on the strategy and what happens in your live account. You need to go into Studies, Edit Strategies once you have the strategy applied, of course. We're going to go through the example today, and you're going to see how I'm going to do it on my TradeStation platform. But in order for you to create that match, you have to go into the Edit Strategies dialog. there's a button that says strategy properties for all. And in there, you're going to find the checkbox that says adopt the real world position. So the strategy is going to look inside of your account, determine how many shares or contracts you own on a particular security, and then you can turn on automation so that it exits that position. Any changes in strategy settings turns off strategy automation. So you got to be careful about what you're doing to the strategy. Once you set it on, if you go back in there and you make any tweaks or edits, your automation is going to be turned off. So something to be aware of and be careful of, because a lot of times we may go in there because we want to tweak something and we don't realize that we've turned the strategy off. There are some indicators on the chart that tell you what the state of the strategy is at any particular moment. We refer here to checking the strategy automation SA indicator. SA is a little box that appears on the top left corner of the chart analysis window that tells you the state of the strategy automation. SA, by the way, is just an acronym or an abbreviation for strategy automation. And based on the color that that indicator turns, then you'll know exactly what the state of the automation is. We're going to need to refresh or reload the chart to force strategy recalculation. So if you do find that you need to go in there and make some edits, or maybe you want to switch the strategy, maybe you were waiting for, let's say, a moving average crossover, but now the market has shifted and you want to change your exit to something else, then you probably need to go in there and make the edits. If you do that, if you make edits, one way to make the strategy recalculate is to refresh the chart. There is a shortcut in TradeStation that does that very nicely. Are the keys Control R. So just keep in mind, Control R, if you press it on your keyboard, it'll force the chart to reload the data, and it'll force the strategy to recalculate. So whatever connection between your strategy and your live account that was lost, it'll be reconnected again on the recalculation. And last, we need to test strategy automation and property settings in Trading Simulator before we go live. That's our suggestion all the time. You have access to a trading simulator. If this is the first time that you're setting up this type of behavior where you want an automated strategy to exit a real position, we want to make sure that you're doing it on the simulator first so that you have a good grasp on the functionality and that there's no questions about how the strategy is going to behave in terms of exiting your trade. So make sure that you're leveraging the trading simulator that we make available to everyone so that you can do that precisely. Let's see what position I have here on my chart, on my TradeStation. Okay, I have a position on Verizon. Everybody sees it here. I can, let's just start with something fresh. This position has been open for a while. In fact, I'm going to right click on it and I'm just going to close it at market so that I don't have any. There we go. I just heard my confirmation. I manually exited the position. So let's go ahead and put in a trade manually, and then we're going to set up our chart in order to exit it with strategy automation. I'm going to go here to trade. Let me trade Verizon again. Yeah, VZ. The quantity, this is not a futures, by the way. I'm going to go to the equities tab, VZ, and I'm going to do 1,000 shares. Verizon is trading at $37.41. So 1,000 shares will cost me approximately $37,000. That's a big trade. Now, this is just for demonstration, of course. You notice that I'm connected to a simulated account where this is a simulated account right here on the trade bar. And if I look at the bottom of my TradeStation platform, you can see that my account number starts with SIM. So those are some of the ways that you can make sure that you are on a simulator if you want to test the functionality before you test it on your live account. So I have Verizon, 1,000 shares. For this example, I'm just going to do a market order since I want to establish a position regardless of the price. And I'm just going to buy those shares by clicking the buy button. Order filled. I get filled, and you can see that my Verizon position graph bar shows up here, and it's red at the moment with a loss of $5, as you can see right there in the middle of the box. But I'm going to open up a chart. let's just wait until this comes up. Let me resize it so that it fills the whole TradeStation workspace. I'm going to change the symbol to Verizon, and I'm going to change this to yeah. Let's leave it on a 5 minute. We may want to come back and switch it if we need to, but for now we're going to leave it here on a 5 minute time frame. I don't see my position open here. Usually if your chart is properly connected to your account, you should see a line that represents your position. Let me go ahead and turn that on, because on my TradeStation, I have it set to not show me any trading activity. Not for any particular reason, just because I want to start off with a clean chart. And if I'm not trading, if I'm doing some technical analysis and modifying some indicators, I don't want any signals to interfere with my analysis, so I turn that off. And in your case, you can also turn this feature on and off if you want to not get distracted by your trading activity. But for this example, I do want to see my position, so I'm going to turn it on. I'm going to go here into the settings tab, or settings button right here at the very top. I'm going to click on account orders and positions. That's the way that you access that setting. And in here, we look at the status checkbox. You see that mine is off. I'm going to turn it on by checking it. This turns on or makes the connection between Verizon and my account. If you want to check which account it is, just go here to account number. I have multiple simulated accounts. Generally, everyone here gets one simulated account, so it should automatically be set to that one. But I'm not really sure which account I traded my Verizon shares on. So I'm going to start off with 533, the one that ends on 533M. And I'm going to click OK. There we go. That was the account that I traded those 1,000 shares on. And you can see that my entry was 37.42. Let's suppose that we are basing our position exit on moving averages. Let me go ahead and go to studies, add studies, and I'm going to go here into the list of studies. And to give you a little bit more of an introduction here, this is just using technical analysis to get out of a trade, which is something that you may want to do at any given moment. There are some calculations that you may want to do. For example, if you want to exit your position based on an ATR calculation, that's something that you can do. Let's talk about moving averages first, and then we'll switch over to ATR and see how we can use ATR to exit that position. I'm going to come over here to my moving averages. I'm just going to put in my moving averages 2 lines for now. And maybe I'll modify these moving averages so they're a little bit more sensitive to what's happening right now. I'm going to go to inputs. I'm going to change my fast length to 8 and my slow length to 21. These are 2 Fibonacci numbers, and I'm just going to click OK. So we can see that the 2 lines are kind of separating, and the space between them is just becoming wider as we speak. Although you can see that at the beginning of the market, we had a big rally, or not a big rally, but some sort of a rally here on Verizon. And in the past, 20, 30 minutes, Verizon has turned down from this high of today. So would these 2 moving averages cross at any moment? Probably. If the price continues to move down, we know that the fast moving average and the slow moving average will start getting close to each other. So if you want to use this crossover as a way to exit our trade, this is a long trade. So if we have the fast moving average cross under the slow moving average, that is a short signal in moving average concepts. So we probably want to exit our long position. So how do we do that? Well, first of all, we need the strategy that goes along with this indicator. TradeStation has built-in strategies that are already programmed so that they do it precisely what we talked about. As soon as there's a crossover in those 2 moving averages, it'll generate a trade. I'm going to go to studies, add strategies, and let's see. These are built-in strategies, nothing custom. So I'm just going to scroll down to moving average cross 2 line here, moving average 2 line cross. And in this example, I don't have an exit per se, but let's go ahead and use it because I can change the way that the long entry behaves. So let's see. The long entry, I'm just going to see if this works. I haven't tested this with a 2-line moving average. And the reason why I say I'm going to see if this works is because all the 2-line moving averages that I have here are entries. We have a long entry and a short entry. That's what the letters here at the very end mean. I cannot use a short entry because it'll be looking for a short trade, and I have a long trade. I bought the shares of Verizon. So let me use the long entry, and I'm going to change the purpose of the strategy, and I'm going to show you that functionality as well. So I'm just going to add it. Let me just click OK. All right, the strategy should be in there. Yep. It's a long entry. So I'm sure that if I go back here in history, you can see that on the first instance that it can generate that trade, it'll do that historically. This is a historical signal. You can see that there's a crossover between the fast and the slow, which generated that signal. Now, we just have one single strategy on the chart. So by default, the strategies on TradeStation need something to interact with. If we just have one signal, in this case, we just have a long entry, it'll take that trade, but it won't do anything else until something different happens. So we'll not continue to buy when the condition is true, because that's something you need to turn on. We don't have an exit yet, so it won't generate an exit because we haven't set it. But in this case, we have the signal here historically. So one of the things that I wanted to do is change the behavior of that strategy so that it exits instead of entering. So I'm going to go here to Studies, Edit Strategies. My strategy is listed right there, and you can see that on the right side, you have the actions that the strategy takes. And you can see that on the buy, it's turned on. But I can go here to this little drop down, and I can set this buying transaction to an exit only, so that whatever criteria the strategy uses to go long is going to use that same criteria to exit. So let's see if this works. I'm going to click OK to this. And before I even look at or set up my strategy, I'm going to go back to where the signal was previously, and you can see that the signal went away because now we're not entering, we're exiting. We changed the behavior, or actually, we changed the behavior of the strategy, and now the signal is gone. So we have our position in there. So now it's a matter of automating the strategy so that whenever these two lines cross in real time, the order gets generated. So let's go ahead and see if that will happen. I'm going to turn this chart into a 1 minute, just because I want to make sure that we get a signal. Let's go ahead and do a 2 minute instead. 2, 3 minute. Okay, this is a 3 minute chart. The two moving averages are getting closer to each other, but we have to wait, until new bars get generated. Let me go ahead and push this chart over here to the left-hand side. I'm going to go to Studies and Edit Strategy. This is what's included in those steps that we talked about when we were looking at the PowerPoint, where we have to link the strategy to what's happening in my live account. Right now, there's no connection whatsoever. In fact, even before I turn this on, let's go ahead and check the Trade Manager. I'm going to open up my chart here a little bit, raise it a little bit, because I want to pull up the Trade Manager down here. I'm going to go to Apps. Let's bring up the Trade Manager. Here it is. I'm going to bring the Trade Manager down, resize it so that we have it here running horizontally at the bottom of my TradeStation. And as I pointed out at the beginning of the presentation, I'm going to go to the Strategy Positions tab. You see, on the Strategy Positions is blank because we don't have a position open on the strategy side. We have a position open on our live account, but not on the strategy. And on the strategy orders, of course, there's nothing because no orders have been generated in real time. The Strategy Orders tab, by the way, is a tab that only populates in real time. And I'm looking at my moving averages, and they're getting closer to each other. And I just want to make sure that I set up the chart before they do so that I get that exit in real time. So let's go ahead and go to Studies, Edit Strategy. I'm going to do the first step on automation. I'm going to go here to this checkbox that says Generate Strategy Orders for display in Trade Manager's Strategy Orders tab. So that's the first step. That's linking the strategy to the Trade Manager. not linking the strategy to my live account. We do that somewhere else. But I'm going to automate the execution because that's what the class is about. We want to automate the execution. And I'm going to do I agree. And I'm going to go to the confirmation here, and I'm going to turn that off. And by the way, the box that I agreed to, it's an important disclosure. Make sure that you're aware of what's happening when you turn on automation, because there are risks involved in turning on automation. And there's no system out there that is perfect when it comes to automating strategies, and we have to be aware of the risks. So I'm turning off confirmation because I want this to happen in real time. So I have to agree to another disclosure. And then one more thing. And this is where we link the strategy to what's happening in my live account. I'm going to go to this button that says Properties for All. And in the Properties for All dialog, I'm going to go to the Automation tab. I'm going to click this radio button that says Strategy will fill non-historical orders only when the trade manager reports them as failed. This is like making sure that my strategy is in sync with my trade manager. So if the strategy fills it, I want my trade manager to reflect that. But in here, once I select this, there is a checkbox that says adopt the real world position for the current account. This is where the magic happens. This is where you turn on this feature, and the strategy will look at your account and is going to adopt whatever position you have as if the strategy had generated it, which is pretty cool. I'm just going to turn that on. I'm going to click OK. It says a change has been made. It says underline, would you like to disable strategy automation? No. So automation is still enabled. I'm just going to click OK. As soon as I do that, let me see what happens here, because it should have adopted my position. Let me go ahead and squeeze. I don't see my strategy automation. This is the strategy automation indicator that we were talking about, the one on the top left corner of the chart. And if you notice, my SA indicator is gray. So I know that by the color, it's been disabled. I'm not sure what happened. Maybe I clicked on the wrong button, but I'm going to go back in there. I can double click directly on that little indicator at the top left corner. I'm going to double click there, and it takes me to, double clicking doesn't work. Right click. Customize strategies. Right click on the indicator, and it takes you to customize strategy. And let's see, you see my automation is turned off. I'm going to go to agree, turn this on. Let me go back to properties for all one more time. Make sure that my automation is set accordingly. And I'm just going to click OK and OK. It's turning off. Let me see why. Maybe the fact that the strategy is designed as a long entry is not allowing me, because you remember that I wanted to test this because I hadn't tested it with a 2-line moving average because it was designed as an entry strategy. You guys remember that? It seems like it doesn't like the setting where I change the long entry into an exit. It doesn't seem to work well with that. So I think it's looking for an exit strategy in order for me to do what I'm trying to do. Let me see what this events log says. Yeah, the strategy is unable to exit the current real world position. The strategy automation has been disabled. So what I tried to do is something that TradeStation doesn't allow you to do, using an entry strategy to exit. So let's go ahead and do something. Let me go ahead and get rid of this, and let's do something different. Let me remove this 2-line moving average, studies, edit strategies, and I'm going to remove that strategy. Let's remove that entry strategy. I'm going to stick to the exit strategies for now. So I'm going to go here to studies, add studies. By the way, you don't need the moving average. I'm just adding it as a visual so that we can see how the strategy generates the exit. I'm going to stick to a 1-line moving average because we do have an exit strategy for that. So I'm going to do moving average 1 line. I'm going to click OK. So let's go ahead and create our strategy based on that moving average. And we're looking at the price crossover. So let's go ahead and go to studies. We're going to do add strategy. You see, we have a moving average cross long exit. Now we have the exit, and I'm going to do OK. So the exit's in there, and I'm going to go back into studies, edit strategies. I'm going to turn on my automation checkboxes one more time. turn off confirmation. I'm going to go here into properties for all, make sure that I have that setting turned on for automation. See, it's not turned on. Anytime you make a change to the strategy, it resets everything. So you have to go back in there and make sure that you have the right checkbox selected. And then in here, I'm going to go to the adopt real world position for the current account. I'm going to click OK. It tells me that a change has been made. So the strategy would like to disable the strategy automation. I'm going to say no. So automation still turned on. I'm going to click OK. Excellent. And this is what I was expecting to happen when I was using the long entry. I was expecting to see this strategy signal that says assume LE. What is it assuming? It's assuming, or the strategy is assuming, that it has a 1,000 share position of Verizon. That checkbox that we checked, adopt the real world position, is exactly what it did. It looked into my account, it saw that I owned 1,000 shares of Verizon, and it adopted that position as if it was generated by the strategy. In fact, if you look down here, you can see that this is my strategy position tab. Verizon, the strategy position is long 1,000 and the open position is long 1,000. So those are two different positions, what the strategy you think it has and what you actually have in your account. And you can see that they both match, and you can see that the position match is true. So position match needs to be true in order for the strategy to be able to automate the exit. Now, let's see if there's anything in strategy orders. In strategy orders, nothing's generated. The reason why there's nothing generated in strategy orders, and this may be a little bit more, I'm not going to say complex, something to keep in mind. The reason why we don't have any strategy generated or strategy orders generated is because this strategy is designed to generate market orders in the event that a crossover happens. So there's no pending order at a specific price. As soon as the price touches or crosses the moving average, it's just going to generate the order for you. Now, in this particular example, I should have picked something that moved a little bit faster than Verizon. I'm not sure why I picked it, but it's okay. If we open up the chart here a little bit more, let me open up the chart. Yeah. Oh, we're going to get it close. We're going to see this live. You see that the candle is closing below that moving average. If it closes below that moving average, it should automatically exit my 1,000 shares of Verizon. We are on a 3-minute interval. Oh, there we go. You see, it happened live. I wasn't expecting this to happen so quickly. A lot of times, I set up my strategy to exit an already entered position, and I just have to sit there minutes and minutes waiting for it to happen. But you saw that this candle closed below the moving average, and it automatically sent an order to get me out. In fact, look down here. We're looking at the strategy orders tab, the tab that didn't have anything before, and we can see that the confirmations are turned off. Verizon, 3-minute interval. The strategy generated an order for 1,000 shares. It was the selling transaction, and the filled price is right here, 37.44. So even though this was a position that I entered manually, I was able to use my strategy looking at a moving average crossover to get out of my trade, which is very, very, very interesting, right? Question here. And is asking, if you buy again manually later, will it keep adjusting or only once initially? It'll only do it once. However, if you recalculate the strategy, it should be able to keep track of your updated position. Remember that we talked about refreshing the chart, Control R. I'm going to press Control R here to show you what happens. Control R. You see how everything refreshes? Because it forces the chart to load data again. And if you do a Control R, it recalculates the strategy. The strategy knows that it needs to look into your account, and it should automatically update the quantity of the position you hold. So just make sure that you recalculate so that the strategy has an opportunity to look into your account and see what your updated position is. Okay, let's go ahead and do that one more time. I'm going to switch over to SPY. Okay, I'm making a symbol change. So this warning is just telling me, hey, you're changing the symbol. You know, you have a strategy that's automated. Do you want to disable it? I'm going to say yes for now. Okay, because anytime you make a change, whether it's a symbol change or a time frame change, your strategy is going to prompt you, hey, what's happening here? Do you want to enable or disable? If you want to do this automation on multiple symbols, you would have to set up individual charts for that purpose, a chart per symbol. So in this case, if I have a position on Verizon, I have to set up a chart for Verizon and automate it just for Verizon. And then if I have another position on SPYs, then I have to set up a separate chart with another strategy. It can be the same strategy, by the way. You don't have to look for a different strategy. You can use the same strategy over and over again. The only thing that needs to be different is the chart, a separate chart with the same strategy in order for you to automate multiple symbols. So let's go ahead and do something different. Let's see, how much time do we have? We have a few minutes. Let me go ahead and enter a position on spiders. I'm going to go to trade, spiders. I'm just going to trade 100 shares of Spider at market. I'm going to buy them. Spiders is trading at $455 per share. So 100 shares is going to cost, in my simulator, $45,000. I'm going to buy them. Order filled. I get filled. And let me reset the scale here on my chart. You notice that I don't see the yellow line anymore. So before I reset the scale, I just wanted to explain something. When your position shows up like this, like a little bubble on the top right corner, it's because you are on a fixed scale. By the way, the line just is popping up because now we're within scale. Remember that I squeezed the chart here a little bit just to see my orders. When you do that, it sets your scale to fixed. The only way that you can see or reset your account scale so you can see your open position and any active orders is to reset it. So you come down here to the overlay buttons, you click on the reset, and it resets the scale to automatic. So just keep that in mind. Wanted to throw it out there because we saw a little yellow bubble, not the line, just because my position was outside of the chart range. But now it's automatic, and it should be included in my range all the time. So 100 shares of Verizon. Let's go ahead and set an ATR stop, which is something that it's calculated on every single bar. So let's go ahead and change this chart to a 1 minute. So the strategy is it calculates on every single bar at the close of every bar. So if I set it to 1 minute, the strategy will calculate every 1 minute, so I get more opportunities to get out just for demonstration. You know, if you want your ATR to be calculated on daily bars, then of course you're going to use daily bars for that. But in this case, I'm just going to set it to 1 minute and calculate my ATR. I'm going to go to studies and I'm going to click on add strategy. We have a built-in ATR strategy. I'm going to scroll to the top. Here it is, ATR, trail, LX, and SX. I may do the target and the trail. Let's do both, a target and a trail. I'm going to click OK to this. Okay, so the strategy is in there. I'm going to go to studies, edit strategies. First of all, I'm going to get rid of that moving average because we don't need it anymore. That's our past example. I'm going to remove that. I'm going to open up or double click on the strategy here to see what the parameters are. So the ATR length is 5, which is okay. You know, I can make it larger so that it includes more bars. Let's make that a 20. So it uses 20 minutes of ATR. I say 20 minutes because I'm looking at a 1 minute chart, right? And the number of ATRs is 2. Okay, I'm good with that. And the number of bars, 5. I think that's just used as a confirmation. It says, enter the number of bars at which to cancel the profit target and place a stop at the bar's low. Oh, okay. So this strategy is interesting because I think what it does, it sends the target first. And after the number of bars that you specify here, it'll just send your stops. It's probably not the behavior that I was looking for. I was looking more for a fixed stops. It says enter the number of bars at which to cancel the profit target and place a stop at the bar's low. Let me not use this one then. Let me go ahead and cancel out of this. Let me remove this one. I'm just going to go to a simple ATR just to simplify the calculation. Studies, add strategy. And I could have just set a profit target and a stop loss if I wanted to, but I'm just going to do an ATR trail LX. All right. Let me go to studies, edit strategies. Let's check the settings here. This is using 10 bars in the calculation of the ATR, and then it's using 3 ATRs in order to exit my position. That's a simpler calculation. Let's click OK. I'm going to generate. You have to go through the automation process here. So first checkbox, second checkbox, which is the execution. That's where you get the disclaimer. I'm going to click on I agree. I'm going to turn off confirmations and agree one more time. And don't forget, once you're here, go to properties for all, go to the automation tab, make sure that this is the second radio button that says, it's going to wait for the trade manager to report them as filled. And then check the box that says adopt the real world position for the current account. Let's take a look at the note. We didn't do it previously, but here it says when the strategy begins calculating in real time, replace any conflicting historical position with the current automated account position. What it's saying is if the strategy thinks that is in a totally different position, it's just going to replace with what's in your account. So if the strategy thinks that it's trading 1,000 shares of Spider and it sees that you only have 100, it's going to replace that immediately. That's what the note says. I'm going to click OK to this. Would you like to disable strategy automation? I'm going to say no, and then click on close. This is what's going on. First, let's check strategy positions. Strategy position, you can see that the strategy is long 100 and the open position is long 100. So there is a true position match. You can see that we have the signal that says assume long entry at 100. And I see my long position here. We entered at 455.96. In my strategy orders tab, though, you can see an active order. This is what an active order looks like. Look at the strategy status. It says active. It means that the strategy has calculated an order based on an ATR and it's active, just waiting for the price to be hit. If you look at the stop price over here is 455.78. So if the price is hit, it should exit my position based on that stop. Let me remove that moving average so that we don't get confused. So 458.78, we can draw a line if we want to, drawing horizontal line. I'm going to draw the line at 4. Let me double click data. I'm going to enter the price 455.78. That's where my stop is at the moment. So the price has to come down all the way down here on that single bar. And of course, we can sit here for minutes and have that not happen. But you can see that it automatically generated that trade. Let's go ahead and wait and see. When there's a recalculation, when a new bar is created, I want you guys to take a look at what happened here to my order. Now, instead of my stop being at 455.78, it's at 455.80 because on every single bar, I get the calculation. The ATR calculates based on the 10 bars that it's specified, and it has a new number, and that's reflected on my stop. Now it shifted to 455.88. If I make a change to the strategy, let's say that we want to do just one ATR. I'm going to go to studies here, edit strategies, and I'm going to go to the settings of that strategy. I'm just going to change the ATRs to just one. Just use one ATR. I want to click OK. I don't want to disable automation and click on close. You can see how the number changed immediately to 456.08. I didn't have to even recalculate it because it forces the recalculation automatically. If you don't see a change, do Control R. But I'm going to change this horizontal line to 456.15. That's where my stop is at the moment. Really close to where my price activity is. So I should be expecting my position to be closed if that price gets traded. 456.15. Let's wait Order filled. There we go. See, it traded for 56.15. I'm not sure if you heard my computer say order filled, but it got rid of my position using the ATR calculation. And I want to make a parenthesis here because it's important that we all understand this. If you're using a strategy that gets calculated on your chart analysis, keep in mind that all the calculations that are happening on your computer. So the computer is acting as an order execution machine, where if it sees an opportunity to generate a trade, it will do that from your computer. Different than what I just talked about in the options example. If you set an activation rule on an order, that order gets sent to the TradeStation order execution server. So TradeStation is the one monitoring the prices for you, and it'll send that order when the price is hit. Two different things. One, TradeStation monitors it. If you're using a strategy, your computer is the one monitoring the prices, is the one running the calculations, and is the one deciding if an order should be placed. So keep that in mind, because if you're running a strategy on your computer, then of course, things can happen. You can lose power, you can lose internet. That could affect the order generation, and you may not have an exit if there's a hiccup in any of those items. So the strategy works locally on your computer. So if I decide that I want to turn my TradeStation off because of whatever reason, then the strategy gets turned off as well. So keep that in mind. And not necessarily, at closing TradeStation, because the other scenarios where I talked about losing connection, there's an internet hiccup, your computer freezes momentarily, whatever happens can affect the strategy generation, okay? The SA indicator only shows up if you have a strategy on the chart. So if you don't have a strategy, you won't see SA on the top left as a strategy automation indicator, meaning that if I go to studies, edit strategies, and I remove the strategy, you can see that my SA indicator disappears. There are different colors on that SA indicator that we didn't talk about. Let me just go here and give you that piece of information so that you have something to reference, because we didn't go through it. So I'm going to go to add strategies. I'm going to do the ATR trail one more time. Notice that SA is gray with black letters. If you go to studies, edit strategies, and you turn automation on, but only to connect the trade manager, I'm not going to do the second one. I'm just going to do the first one and click OK. Notice that it turns a lighter shade of gray. Doesn't have the color yet. Now, if I go to studies and I edit the strategy and I turn on execution, but I leave my confirmations on, I'm going to click OK. Notice that it turns green with yellow letters. Yellow letters means that you're going to receive some sort of a warning about the order being placed, and you have to confirm for that order to be executed. And the next step is going to studies, edit strategies, and turning confirmations off. When you do that and click OK, notice how the colors change. Now we have a green background, letting you know that the strategy is automated, and the red letters SA just mean that there's no confirmation enabled. So as soon as the criteria is hit, you should have an execution of your order. That was it. Thank you so much for your time. Have a wonderful afternoon, and check out our upcoming events for classes that we're going to do in our masterclass and in our Getting Started series. Thank you for your time. Again, great having you. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye.